Hey guys, what's up? This is Fantasia. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for clicking and watching today's video. Welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Fantasia and here I am giving you guys all the good stuff, okay? I love sharing things with you guys that are going to constantly elevate your life, constantly put you on the next level. And one of the solid foundations of this channel is true and real self-love. I feel like really, other than Jesus himself, the next best thing in this life is really learning to give yourself what you need to get through this life, okay? But before I feel like the true foundation of self-love is learning who you are and what you need. And the best way to do that, honestly, is if you were born to a human being at all, which, yeah, if you were born to a human being, you need some type of healing, okay? It's a given, okay? Healing is so essential to living to become the best version of yourself. Living your best life is truly reaching back into your past, and really processing some of those things that have happened to you and really just making it work for you now, okay? So if you're at a point in your life where you've chosen to heal, or if you're at a point in your life where healing is something you're thinking about, or if you're on this new wanting to live your soft life, they call it all kinds of things. But the reality and the root of it is we're really trying to learn to become the best versions of ourselves. So if you're somewhere in there, maybe you are going to enjoy this video, I promise. So what I'm going to do in this video is give you guys some things that I feel like really will just hug your soul while you're going through your healing process. Because if you know healing is one of those things that really wrecks you in the best way possible. But just from personal experience, while I was healing, I was going through so much that I didn't recognize myself because it was all so different. And I'm still healing, don't get me wrong, but there were times that I felt like, to this day, that I was depressed. But I wasn't depressed, I was purging things. So I want to kind of help give you guys a vision and give you guys something that's just going to really just really hug that trajectory of your healing process. I know this was a lot, but if you just want to get the best out of your healing process and figure out some ways to know that you're going in the right way, I want to help give you guys some things to pull from, okay? So let's go ahead and get into this video where I share these things with you. Let's go over what healing is. I have come up with my own definition of healing. And healing is an intentional process, which means you've decided. It's an intentional process of unlearning behaviors that no longer serve you. And it's positive habit building while learning to cultivate a healthy way of life in order to become the best version of yourself. It doesn't get no better than that, sis. What we're doing is we're pouring into ourselves and learning what we need. And a lot of times in life, we didn't get that. That wasn't important. That's not something really parents and life teaches us, is that we are important. As humans, we need a lot that we don't get, okay? We need more than food in our mouths, okay? We need more than a good roof over our head, okay? We need some good old self-love. So throughout this process, the first thing you're going to want to know throughout this process is that you have to be willing. You almost literally have to have a point of desperation. And I know that sounds extreme, but it's true. Because what desperation and willingness, when they come together, what they do is create this undeniable that no matter what's going to happen, I'm going to put 2 feet on the ground and I'm going to stick through this process that is probably going to get a little muddy, a little difficult, and be very unfamiliar. It's going to give you that drive to keep going. So you have to be willing and desperate to keep going no matter what. You got to stay committed, okay? So this basically initiates the desire to heal. It creates a curiosity. So if you're so desperate that you do not want to give up, you're going to start learning the things you need to do. You're going to let go of the people you don't need to. That curiosity is going to master out any type of doubt and fear and shame and guilt that you had. That willingness to do it is going to outweigh all those negative feelings that you're going to have coming into your healing process, okay? This is really going to be your foundation of your why. You're going to have a lot of intention settings during this time. So let's see what else. This is going to be your true recognition of, wait a minute, girl, I need to give myself something. You're going to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I need to give myself something I've never had before because everything else is not working. I need to be able to do this, and this is where all this is going to come from, okay? And this is just really what's going to create the longevity of your healing process. So let's move on to step number 2, or the number 2, have a relationship with your higher power like no other, okay? Me and Jesus, me and God, we are like this, and I still am working on my relationship with him, but you're gonna have to be able to look beyond yourself to be able to get through this process. You're gonna have to have a prayer life. You're gonna have to have some study time. You're gonna have your word to lean on, because what you're doing is creating a toolbox to be able to get through life in your healing process. You're creating a way of life that you've never experienced during this time. So you have to have your shield in your back pocket ready to go. Okay, girl. All right, so form a relationship with your higher power, and this is so key to your healing process, okay? Next, another thing that you're gonna have to be keen to is that you're gonna have to be willing to purge, because baby, you are going to be purging like no other. Just take your age, okay? I'm 32 years old. When I started healing, I was like 29. Okay, and when I really started healing, I was like 30. Okay, so let's keep it real. That's 30 years of life experiences, my childhood trauma, my relationships, everything that has happened in my life. I'm undoing, I'm unlearning, I'm purging, I'm getting rid of some of the ways I used to think, some of the experience that happened to me, some of the just trauma that I didn't realize was trauma is all going to be thrown up in this process. But not only is it going to be thrown up, it's going to come with this really crazy wave of emotions that you're not going to recognize, okay? But you're going to have to be willing to purge. And I'm not only talking about purging things that you know you need to purge, but it's going to be things you didn't know you needed to purge, along with people, places, things. All these things are going to be new, and actually it's going to be like a point of isolation. And that kind of leads me into my next point, okay? Because you're going through all these fragile experiences, you're going through all these things that are unfamiliar. I keep using that word because it's true. I feel like a good period of isolation is so necessary. And I know everybody's life is different. Everybody's kids, families, situations where isolation may not be a thing. But why I feel like isolation is so necessary during your time of healing is because you need space to create a foundation that's going to work for you. So other than your support system, which we'll get into next, you really don't need too many people around you giving you opinions. You don't need too many people around you sharing how they feel this should work for you. You really need your higher power, you, and a few really, really solid support people. And I mean solid support people that you know are going to rock with you through anything. But we'll get to that in a second. But back to your isolation period. And I'm not talking about an unhealthy isolation, but I'm talking about a healthy, intentional isolation period, okay? Isolation will really help you gain and hear your thoughts, sit with your thoughts, sit with your feelings, sit with how you need to figure out what you need. This will give you a period of time that is essential to the trajectory of your healing process. Once again, isolation will help you come up with your routine, give you what you need. Now, everybody's situation is different. Maybe isolation won't work in certain trauma situations. I get that. That's where you kind of step back to like the beginning of your healing process, where you should have some type of counseling, I feel like, prior to or while you're going through healing. And maybe I should have prefaced this with that. So I don't want to just make it seem like, oh, go sit by yourself and feel things, because that may not be healthy for certain people's mental situations. But what I mean is an intentional period of isolation where you just are writing, journaling, purging, giving yourself room to do something you've never done. You want to cancel out the noise of the world, okay? Good old support system. Ooh, woo! If you got some people in your corner that are rocking with you, you are a force to be reckoned with, okay? And I mean rocking with you, okay? My support system knows who they are. And it's probably a good 4 people, because you can't depend on everybody, sis. Okay? Don't trust everybody with this process. Let's just keep it real here. Do not trust everybody with this process. But there are people in my life that I can call on any time of the day no matter what I'm going through, how I'm feeling, and they know what I'm going through and why I need them, and they are solidly there, and I do not for 2 seconds take them granted, because just like isolation is necessary, a healthy support system is equally necessary, okay? So my support system, I mean, I just can't explain why, and I mean, I can. So a support system is just truly necessary, because what happens is they are your reinforcement in a time where you're not always going to be sure. These people have either gone through what you've been through, they know where you're trying to get, and they can just reinforce they can reinforce the journey of where you're going. And that's the best way to put it. But it's the support for me, sis, like seriously. Talked about isolation. Last thing I want to touch on that I have listed is you're going to have to create an environment. And I kind of group this with hobby, because I talk about this so often on my channel. You guys see my beauty space. You see the room that I work in. Not only do you see that, but I'm also going to get a little personal on this. I used to come home, and I would come home to a completely empty house when I was first healing. I used to not really feel worthy of things. I have a good job, I'm living a good life, but it was so hard for me. I struggled for so long in my life that I didn't feel like I was worthy of good things. Now, that don't mean I go out and spend my money and get broke, but it was so bad. My self-esteem, the way I viewed myself, the way I didn't find myself worthy, was I would come home to an empty house, probably for the first 2 years of my healing journey. I mean, a completely empty house. I had old furniture, and I just didn't really see the value in creating an environment that really made me feel like I should love myself. And I can't emphasize how important that is. And that's just a small example. Now, my house is not decked out, but it's something so special about creating an environment that makes you feel worthy. Sis, I have a little space that I do my devotions in. I have a little space for my prayers. I have a little space for, things that are going to cultivate the greatness of my healing journey. Okay, so you have to create that. And you may not have a whole space to come to, even if it's a little corner in your house. When I tell you I was living life in smaller spaces than what I'm in now, you can do it, and you have to find those moments that are going to work for you, okay? But there was when I started creating an environment that worked for me, my self-esteem increased, the way I lived increased, the way I spoke about myself increased, my habits increased, my routine increased. And it was over time. It didn't happen right away, but there was something so valuable in creating a space that worked for me, that was worthy of this journey that I'm on. So that goes into my next point that's kind of grouped with this as a hobby. YouTube has changed my life, okay? Get something that works for you, that has nothing attached to it, that has no obligation attached to it, that just truly gives you purpose and makes you happy. And I mean, whatever it is, gardening, playing a sport, getting out and, going shopping without going broke. There's a difference. Or fashion and art and makeup and all of that. I love makeup, but YouTube was it for me. And it wasn't maybe even just YouTube. It was the art of creating something that created value in others' lives, that came from my experience, that started giving me a sense of hope for myself. And it's like, now that I'm doing this, it's not necessarily attached to my self-esteem, but it makes me feel better that I have a routine, something that I could come to and learn to love and do and show up for, that has nothing to do with me getting a paycheck, nothing to do with me in responsibility, nothing, that I can just completely show up and give you what you need in a way that works for me. It just works. And so that's an example. Whatever it is for you, sis, sit with yourself until you truly find it, okay? Cooking, baking, having a pet, creating a social network for a group of people, whatever it is, do what it do, okay? Make it happen for you. Hey. So yes, that's one thing. That's another thing you can do to help you on your healing journey. Okay. Alrighty guys, so we've arrived at the end of this video, but I want to end this video quite powerful, if you will. I'll say when I walked into my healing journey, I walked in with so much baggage, and I'm still, listen, one thing I want to tell you, there's a few things I want to leave you with, is that healing is an evolution. It's a process. It's a healing process. And a process and an evolution is never ending, okay? And when I started this journey, I walked into this journey with self-esteem this big, okay? I walked into self-esteem with shame and guilt to the moon and back, okay? I had fear, doubt, I was angry, I just was miserable. I was so depressed some days I didn't get out of bed for days at a time. And this was for long episodes at a time. Okay, so I walked into this journey literally picking one foot up and putting it in front of the other daily. I'm fighting for the other side of this healing journey, okay? And I share that with you because there's somebody out there that can connect with what I'm saying. And that's so deep for me. And it almost really brings me back to tears because there were moments I didn't ever think I was going to get out of that. There were people, because of the way I felt about myself in this time, I lived a toxic life with toxic people. It was the most draining point in my life. But with each of these little things you add into your healing process, it takes away from that negative thing that you've added to your life, and it just adds value. It chips away at that low self-esteem if you can learn to really, get through your healing journey. So there's some things that I think will make it a little helpful. Acknowledge some truths. This is probably going to be hard. It's going to be one of the hardest, most rewarding, and the best gift you can give yourself, okay? I mean that. It is going to withstand any promotion, any job raise, any negative situation you can go through if you learn to give yourself true self-love during this healing process. If you learn to love yourself enough to heal, you will get to the other side of this in a way you would never think, and be able to conquer the world in a way you would never think. This has got to be one of the best times in my life, and I don't have everything. You know what I mean? But I have a lot more than what I had before this, okay? And I've given myself the best gift you can ever give yourself is to just give you and pour into you and give you what you need, okay? And part of giving yourself what you need on your healing journey is unconditional grace, sis. Unconditional grace is something that was so difficult for me to learn. I was so hard on myself. I still am hard on myself, but there's something about giving your grace says that I didn't know everything coming into this, but I know enough to keep going. And when it gets tough, I'm going to turn around and pat myself on the back when it gets tough, and I'm going to give myself enough love to keep going. There's no reason for you to be hard on yourself for the rest of your life. Like, learn to love yourself in the moments when it gets tough. Learn to grace yourself in the moments when it gets tough throughout this healing journey, okay? So yes, unconditional grace. I keep wanting to say self-grace. Unconditional grace is what you need to give yourself in this journey. I cannot say it enough. Learn to not be so hard on yourself, man. If you have a bad day, if you have 3,000 bad days, still love yourself in those days enough to keep going. Still love yourself enough to take a break. Still love yourself to figure out what you need to keep going. Still love yourself enough to say, hey, this might be too much right now. Still love yourself enough to say, I've done enough for today. Love yourself enough to see what you need and grace yourself to the next moment, okay? Self-grace is what you need, sis. Self-grace, okay? So that's the end of this video. Healing is worth every moment of unfamiliarity, fragileness, difficulty. It's going to be the most difficult, rewarding experience you ever give yourself. I want to share this book with you guys. This book right here, sis. This book right here, okay? It's called Letting Go of the Past, Connecting with the Present, and Expand the Future. It's called Lighter. This book is the best book that I have ever read in my life. Sounds dramatic, but it's true. If you are on a healing journey, you need this book. I bought it off of Amazon. The author is phenomenal. If you need a little more insight on the healing journey, every single word in this book will have your mouth on the ground. You need this book. Now, disclaimer, the book, you may not want to like get into it, you know, until you get to a certain point in your healing journey. I think if you're in the beginning, that's probably going to be a little overwhelming. But once you get to a point where you can truly woosah and you're not all, you know, on the beginning side of it, that book is going to be life changing. When I tell you, go ahead and order the book, sis. Even if you don't get to it until, you know, several months into your healing journey, you are going to need that book. The author has so much phenomenal insight on healing. And so the moments where I felt like I was regressing, it just really changed oh my God, it really changed the trajectory and gave me true awareness and insight onto where I was going in my healing journey. So anyways, guys, I hope that this video added something to your life. You know this, it gave you hope and found you purpose. And I always and will always love you. Love yourself even more through this journey because you're deserving of it. And remember, grace yourself, sis. You are always blessed. Even in your trials and tribulations, you are blessed. And so if you're new here, stick around, and I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. Hit the notification bell next to the subscribe button. Comment down below. Let me know how you've been. Let me know where you are in your life. Let me know if you're deciding to heal. Let me know if you are healing. I don't know. I'm just in a chatty mood, but I love you guys to the moon and back, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.